You're on the punchline here with Kelly Pavlik and James Dominguez, and today we got special guest Dalton Rosta, and 2-0 in Bellator from the area, Tri-County area. Hell of a fighter, and we're going to kind of let you take us into it today. Then we're going to get into questions, and I'm sure we're going to have people asking questions, and that's, you know how the show goes, right?
Yeah.
So we get a lot of people to ask questions on it too. You guys got to check them out. What's the best way to find you?
My Instagram is Dalton_Rosta. That's what I'm most active on. Also on Facebook, it's just Dalton Rosta.
Okay. Awesome. Yeah, so we're going to get into that. A lot of shit this weekend on fights. Go ahead, James, you know, with the fights.
You want me to go with the fights first, or we talk about MMA?
No, we're going to do, yeah, but I'm talking about what we got to talk about on the fights.
Oh, today
all this shit on the chat rooms. And,
we got the Jamel Herring fight we got to go over, right?
Yeah.
What did and what didn't happen. What other fights we did this week? There were some good ones. Inoue.
Yeah.
We didn't talk about Inoue, no Nico Donaire. But the most important thing is talking to Dalton. We got an up-and-coming MMA star now, and it's good for this area to finally have one.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And especially in the mixed martial arts field, because we know that's taken off. Mixed martial arts is huge. Shit, you push back one of the highest paid athlete in boxing. They had to wait for that fight to be over with just so the UFC fight was over.
Just to put on boxing.
So I'm not too happy about it, but I mean, for these combat guys, they are, you know, that boxing whatnot. But
I think it's because they all fell under the zone, and they're working against each other, putting the fights on at the same time because you're losing an audience to go to MMA and back to boxing. When you could just get your audience, finish out the MMA fight, and get that audience to go right to boxing.
I agree.
So how did you get your start?
Well, I first started boxing when I was 11 years old. 11 years old. I'm sorry.
Okay.
And I boxed from like whenever I was 11 to 12, and then right after that, I got into jiu-jitsu whenever I was 13 and 14. So I was kind of like transitioning from like one thing to the next. I wasn't doing it all at once. And right after I got done with jiu-jitsu and couldn't like put as much time towards it because I was in high school, I was playing football. During the winter, I decided to get into wrestling. So my freshman year, I started wrestling again. And I wrestled throughout high school, and then I wrestled throughout my freshman year in college at Seton Hill University. Okay. And after that, I transferred to Youngstown State. And after I finished playing football there, which was after my sophomore year because I got injured, and I got back into jiu-jitsu. Jiu-jitsu led me back into boxing, and then eventually, like, all my coaches were like, you should really try to compete. So I was doing really well with jiu-jitsu, doing really well with boxing, and so I started kickboxing, started working on my wrestling and everything again, started putting it all together, and took my first fight in March of 2017. Well,
I mean, you're making a big splash. A lot of people don't get into Bellator in their first two fights, or you know, which is amazing. And I watched your fight, I watched both of them, and I mean, just the quick work that you made of this guy was, because I don't think anybody thought that was going to happen, this guy's experience, and you just kind of walked right through him. What do you do for your physical strength? Because you seem stronger than everybody you're fighting.
I mean, I did a lot of lifting growing up, but I kind of toned it down now. Just from fighting, I get a lot of work, like with my wrestling, my jiu-jitsu, boxing. You can't overwork yourself. No. So I implement lifting in now, but I only do 2 days lifting a week. I'll do a push day and a pull day.
Are you lifting heavy?
Yes, I lift heavy. I usually do like 5 sets of 3 on bench press. Maybe 5 sets of 5, and then
5 by 5s.
Yeah, and stuff like that. All my squats, I'll do the same thing. Hang cleans,
deadlifts.
Yeah, deadlifts. Deadlifts are important.
How far did you get in jiu-jitsu? I mean, how far did you get? Belt and things like that?
Right now I'm actually a blue belt, so I'm still practicing.
We all are froze there.
Yeah,
but who are you under?
I'm under Isaac Gurley at Matt Factory and Lou Armazzani.
Awesome.
In Armazzani Jiu-Jitsu Academy in Monaco. So I have 2 coaches.
That's awesome.
So it's kind of like a group effort between them for promoting me.
It is.
I'm hoping, if you're watching, I'm getting my purple belt soon.
Well, we know we both know, we all, Justin too, we know how jiu-jitsu goes when it comes to promoting. It could take years. I mean, I just want a strike. Come on, just give me that strike.
That's what I was going to get into next on that. I will too, a question for you also, but going back to the strength training though, we were talking about that a little bit before the show started. strength and conditioning. But yeah, so I was, I used to do the lifting, but mine was the real lightweight, a lot of reps, more for like the muscle endurance. Obviously, in the mixed martial art field, you do a lot more pushing and pulling and grabbing. But to a point, is there any form of training where you work on the repetitious for the muscle endurance too? Because we know being strong, and we've seen what the Anthony Joshua's in the boxing world, where they're really built and big, and that actually they get tired quicker because of that. Have you found, you said like you kind of cut back on the muscle bound type training, where that may be something in the future that you really want to stay away from? Like when you were really doing that heavy weight or like more of the weight training, did you find yourself getting tired a little quicker? I mean, you were stronger off the rip, but fading out, or?
Yeah, I mean, whenever I first started training again, I was like 240 pounds
Yeah.
playing football, so I was a lot bigger, and I couldn't, after one round, I couldn't hold my hands up sparring. So
And you're fighting 85 right now, right?
Well, 205.
205?
Should be moving down to 85 within my next 2 fights.
Wow.
But yeah, so I was a lot like bigger, a lot more muscle bound, and it did affect me a lot. Like my biceps were getting fatigued just from holding my.
You have to oxygenate. You have to oxygenate those big muscles.
That's where I'm going, and that's like with Anthony Joshua. Guys, again, we're here right now with 2-0 in the Bellator. Dalton Rosta, unbelievable fighter, strong. His ground game is ground and pound. That's as far as I'm going to go on explaining it. You got to watch him fight. The MMA I'm still kind of getting into, especially now, and that's where I'm going to lead into the next question.
He has one by Dan Rossano too. Dalton has a question.
Oh, does he?
Yeah, it's what style of fighting do you feel is most important to MMA, and how do you feel boxing is part of it?
What's most important? It all depends on the person.
Yeah, that's a good question.
What you're good at?
Yeah, it all depends on the person, because somebody could be really good at boxing and that works for them. Somebody could be really good at boxing, but it doesn't translate over to MMA. It could go either way. But a really good wrestler, as long as he implements his wrestling game well, can work well in wrestling. I've seen a lot of wrestlers that were awesome wrestlers, NCAA champs, state champs, multiple time state champs, get in MMA and they just suck because they can't put it together. They can't mix it up.
Getting hit, and that's a bit different game once punches start landing. Even if you're on the ground, with the ground and pound or little shots, some people kind of get a little shell shocked, I guess, cover up. But what would you, going on that, like I'm getting my son into it now, the jiu-jitsu, and I'm into it. We want to go down and see Dan Siegel down in Columbus.
And Vitor Oliveira.
Yeah, and doing that. What would you say a little bit on that as far as the jiu-jitsu compared to the wrestling?
I would say, jiu-jitsu is very important. It's not like jiu-jitsu versus wrestling.
Yeah.
You got to have them together. Yeah. If you're doing just jiu-jitsu, you're doing it wrong.
So
this is
just
more of
wrestling, you're doing it wrong.
So jiu-jitsu is more of a passive thing. It's more passive than wrestling.
I learned that,
You don't need to be
strong. You're not as aggressive. You savor, you kind of let them make the mistakes and grab them. But that's what I was going with. So, like, you think it's for him right now, too? He's only 10, but it's important to get him into the wrestling, too.
I would say, honestly, I would go to my personal opinion. And I'm biased because I wrestled. But actually, a lot of people don't understand this. I actually did jiu-jitsu first.
Yeah.
But I got a lot more advanced and better at wrestling before I did jiu-jitsu. So I might be a little bit biased in that aspect. But I truly believe that you need to get a solid wrestling foundation first, because there's like a lot of things that come with wrestling is like the grind, like throughout the practice, like day in and day out.
Conditioning.
Yes.
And I have always said wrestlers are the best conditioned athletes in the world. I know these boxing people go crazy when I say it, but wrestling is so much harder conditioning wise than boxing.
It's a different kind of conditioning, because like if you're in a wrestling match with another very tough wrestler, somebody around the same level as you, and you guys both want to win, it's going to be a hard match. You guys be on each other's head the whole time, using every muscle in your body, pushing, pulling, shooting. Every single time you make an explosive movement like that, it's like doing a sprint. And you just do that over and over and over throughout the whole match. So it's very tiring. That's the only point. It gets like, if you're like way better than somebody, it could be easy. If you're both very bad and you guys are just hanging on each other's head, not moving, not doing much, stalling, it could be easy. It's only as hard as you make it. Same thing with like boxing. You can sit there and be a pressure fighter and you throw a lot of punches, you can throw volume, and you'll get, a lot of guys will get tired. Like me, I know the more volume I throw, I get more tired. Obviously, I'm more muscle bound.
Well, kind of like what you're saying too, though, depending on how good the comp is or the fight is, because you could be a guy also, if you know how to pace yourself, or kind of like hitting a heavy bag. If you know how to punch, you can fight a guy not so good and throw a lot of punches. But but not throw it the same way that you would throw it against somebody who is good, and you won't get tired as quick.
Yeah.
You know.
And that's another thing. Like if you're not fighting somebody good, they're not keeping you honest.
Yeah,
so
they're
you
not.
pretty much just throw whatever you want. Same thing in a wrestling match. You can do just about anything you want.
Yeah.
So when you're fighting somebody good, they keep you honest. You have to move a different way. You have to slip their punches. You can't just come straight in. You can't throw whatever you want. Your usual 5-punch combination on the bag turns into 2-3 at times until something opens up. Same thing with wrestling. You might get a takedown easier. You might go from one take. You might do chain wrestling. So you might go from one takedown, not get it, and go into the next. But when you go against a really good wrestler, it's like actually the opposite of boxing. You start doing more moves. Instead of doing one shot to get the takedown, you end up doing 2, and then against a really good wrestler ends up being 3, maybe 4, sometimes 5. And
I wanted to ask you what we thought. Me and Kelly are both good friends with TJ Dillashaw. He's come on the show before. And he said the problem right now with MMA is they don't get a lot of time to master one art over the other because you're in a time crunch when you're in camp. He said you may get a day of boxing, then you go to wrestling the next day, and then jiu-jitsu, and then you just got to, and then you're cutting weight. And he said you're just not getting the time. If you've never had a background in it, you're not getting the time to master everything. You're getting good at everything, but you're not mastering anything. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I agree with it. I mean, especially during fight camp, because during fight camp, you're just trying to get ready for the fight.
Yeah.
You're not actually learning.
It's true. You're making weight.
Yeah, you're trying to make weight. You're trying to get in shape for the fight. You're focusing on your opponent. You're not actually learning moves to improve yourself. You're focused on somebody else.
I agree.
So,
well, I guess in a way, though, that's good too. Though it's every bit as important because you're training that way to face that opponent. You know what I mean?
He's just saying that like his boxing's only going to get where it needs to be right now. It's not going because he don't have the days to.
Yeah, and we talked about that on the show. Going into the safety of boxing, you know, I know a lot of people say. A lot of people seem to think that mixed martial arts is more dangerous than boxing, and I understand why. Because you're talking about elbows,
5 different
chokeouts, kicks.
You have more tools.
Yeah, but in all reality, boxing is more dangerous because of the steady pounding to the head. It's training camp because there's only so much you can do in boxing. The only thing you can do is punch.
Boxers spar a lot more too.
They do,
and there's a lot more you do. So as he said, one day you might be boxing. One day you might be wrestling. One day you might be doing jiu-jitsu. One day you might be kickboxing.
So out of the 2 months,
you're not boxing and kickboxing.
Also, I will say this too: if you ever spar in an MMA gym, the fighters are a little more respectful and controlled. It's more of a martial arts thing. They don't want to knock your head off because they're training partners. They're getting ready for a fight. So are you.
That's what I'm saying. But so
I'm not like that.
No. You want to take your guys out.
I guess my really good.
From watching your fucking
it's hard to bring
them.
It's hard to get guys back if you hurt them though. That's the thing. These guys are hard to come by.
Yeah, if they were my really good friends and like we spar often, I'm gonna pull back and stuff.
Kelly,
honestly, no matter who I spar,
like that.
Yeah.
Kelly didn't hurt his friends either.
Yeah. No matter who I spar, I'm not gonna hit him with all my power.
No.
But whenever I'm sparring like somebody new, I'm trying to get good work. I'm trying to get ready for my fight. I'm focused on improving myself.
That's true.
Billy Lau still can't put a fucking sentence together because of me, and I love the kid.
Yeah, but you let Roger walk a few times.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
And I like Roger, but you know, I love Roger. Going into that. Now you guys got me on that. I was fucking going to say something. Oh yes, so it is though. Like I understand. I mean, we talked about it. So you're boxing. The only thing you could do is punch at somebody and try to hurt to the body or head. And you know when you transfer it over to a fight, a lot of these guys, the injuries in boxing that have been happening, and unfortunately the deaths, is that a lot of guys in training could have small bleed on the brains and small head injuries that's not noticed. You know, and then you go into a fight, in a boxing fight. If you get dropped, you got 10 seconds to get up. And if you can show you're okay, you might be able to fight 20 more minutes and get dropped again and get your brain scrambled. And if you can show you get up, sometimes 3 times you get rocked. As we're in mixed martial arts, as soon as you get hurt, though, from a shot, they stop it. Yeah. And they have to. I mean, I understand that, too, because the guy can't go down half out and somebody come with a flying knee, you know, and destroy him. But
another thing with that, too, is, like, that's where it's different from boxing. Like, if you were to fall in boxing, the ref stops it, gives you your 8 count. You can't count.
Exactly.
In MMA, my opponent falls.
Yeah. You still hit him until he stops.
Yeah, so
hitting his head off the ground.
Yeah, so that's where that's different. But yeah, I understand what you're saying.
Dog, you have a question too from Esteban.
Okay.
He said, which MMA fighter would you say you looked up to as a technique role model coming up?
A technique role model?
Which fighter?
Technique. John Jones.
Oh God.
Yeah, John Jones. He's
the best fighter in the world. Yeah,
for sure. But as like a motivation, like inspiration, Conor McGregor. I know a lot of people aren't going to hear that because all the shit talking and stuff he does now, but and all this antics and stuff he's been pulling outside of MMA. But like whenever he was first up and coming and stuff, it was like he was like really inspirational, really motivating. He came from nothing.
Came from
read
nothing.
Up on his story, like, and he literally like became like world known. He became a superstar
on his own.
And in 2 years, a year and a half, and like he went from nothing to being rich and making his dream come true and being a world champion fighter in less than.
You want to hear something crazy? Remember that Mexican girl? She tried to get me in a fight with John Jones. Remember that when in Albuquerque? I had a girl try to get me in a fight with John Jones in Albuquerque at his gym. I was it's a quick story. I was in Albuquerque like 6 or 7 months ago, and she was there, and John Jones was flirting with her. She wasn't my girlfriend. I'm like, whatever. And John Jones is like feeding her oatmeal, having her rub her hand on his abs and all this, and then she's sucking it up, whatever. And then she comes out and goes, I can't believe you let him do that. I'm like, what are you talking about? She said, yeah, you let him just flirt with me and didn't do nothing. I said, first of all, what do you think I'm going to do to this man? And second of all, okay, you're right. I said, if you flirt with him, I'm fucking you up. I'm whooping your ass, not his. And she tried to get me to fight John Jones. And John goes, that your girl? I said, no, man, you're good.
Let me tap into these guys real quick. But so guys, listen, we are going to get on to the boxing, but we want to talk this with Dalton here. It's awesome to have you on. Thanks for coming on too.
We don't get quality fighters on here much anymore.
We get them on the phone, and a lot of people don't like to listen on the phone. We could have we had the pound for pound number
Terrence
one boxer.
Crawford.
Yeah, and everybody was so asking like, Kelly, who was the hardest puncher?
We had Dillashaw on here and Matt Brown and some of these other guys, and they're like, who was the hardest puncher you ever faced? That has nothing to do with fucking asking these guys. Yeah,
young Yoda goes, I started wrestling a couple weeks ago. Practice or brutal, a lot similar to heavy boxing training. The Quag said, wrestling is a bit harder because the guys are always leaning and holding on to you. The ref also pushes the pace of the match, making it exhausting. No stalling in wrestling.
Sure. Yeah, you do get hit for stalling.
Yeah.
And that is another thing. You have somebody, like I said, if you guys both truly want to win, it's two people that really just want to get their hand raised at the end of the match, and they're both like pretty close in terms of like talent and ability. It's going to be a tough match. You're in each other's face the entire time. You're taking shot after shot. I shoot, you sprawl, then you re-shot, and then I sprawl, and then I'm cutting corners, passing elbows, shooting again. It's a lot of banging on the head. A lot. There's no stepping back and taking a break. No stepping back and just getting a breath and then coming back in.
I do eventually want to learn that type of shit, man. Just be able to get somebody on the ground like that and fuck them up, and then.
Weren't you doing jiu-jitsu for a little
bit? Yeah. I'm still doing it a little bit. I'm going to eventually pick it back up, and then just get those little shots over onto the ribs, but where they can't get up. They just like fuck with somebody. Obviously, a lot weaker than me and who don't know shit. I just do that to them.
David wants to know, Dalton, how technical can MMA become? Explain some jiu-jitsu technical fundamentals most people may miss.
Oh, that's a tough question.
It is a tough question.
Right on the spot.
Well, how technical do you think it can become?
In jiu-jitsu or
in MMA? How technical can it?
Yeah, I mean everything about it's technical. It's just about like who's willing to learn the techniques and who's willing to be technically sound. Every part of it, boxing, kickboxing, wrestling, jiu-jitsu, every martial art has its own technique, and you can become technical in boxing, you can become technical in wrestling. But I mean, there's a lot of people out there that, and I hate to say it, some fighters, they go out there and they're just brawlers. They learn all the stuff, then they go out there and then they just brawl and slug, and it makes MMA look bad sometimes.
It does.
So.
But we were talking about too, the fighters today, even MMA, even in the past 20 years, they've become bigger, stronger, and faster, better athletes than they were 20 years ago. I don't think guys like Dan Severn and could compete with some of these guys nowadays, just because the sheer speed and agility and conditioning of these guys today.
I think a lot of people are like too caught up on like the Chuck Liddell era.
Right, exactly.
Like all those fighters, they were street fighters essentially. Exactly. That had a little bit of training back then, and that's what MMA was back then. But now it's actually becoming a technically sound sport, and people are actually learning everything about the sport and becoming better fighters.
But people do not want to admit to that. Let's not get it wrong. Chuck Liddell was tough. I mean, them guys were tough brawlers, but you'll get guys that are in their 40s who came up with those guys, and they will say that they are the best to ever step foot in the cage. Some people, don't argue.
Yeah, they do that boxing too.
Yeah, just like Harry Greb in boxing will be the greatest boxer of all time. Nobody was better. And we pulled a film up on Harry Greb, and
like shit.
But people always tend to stay with their era. what they came up with, and that's the best.
But
and the better.
when we were talking about Liddell, what happened to Liddell when people found his chin? There was a chink in that. I mean, eventually they found his chin, and these stronger, younger, and better athletes were exposing him even, and it was the same with a lot of these other guys. I believe the athletes of today, like your generation, are so much better than the athletes then.
Yeah, I feel like it's a lot harder to make it to the top now.
It is.
In the UFC, Bellator,
Well,
anything like that.
Look at the
Because
weight classes; they're all stacked.
Yeah, back then, like the big names were all it was, and then they were just beating like a bunch of like no names.
Yeah.
And it's like you had Chuck Liddell, Tito Ortiz, and that's all people.
Ken
grew up
Shamrock, and that was it.
Yeah.
That's all people knew. That's what they grew up with.
Yep.
But now you have all these like true fighters that like the lower level guys in the UFC would have probably either given Chuck Liddell a fight or beat him.
Your top 10 right now are all beasts. Everybody in those rankings in the top 10 are beasts. There is like nobody weak in those.
As Ricky would say, Frank Dukes was the start of all that.
In his underground fighting, and
It was from, remember the movie Bloodsport?
I actually never seen that.
Oh man, you had to see that with Jean-Claude Van. Yeah, it is.
Bloodsport.
But well, let me talk to these guys. Look, we're gonna tap. You mind sticking around, talking boxing too and everything with us? We're gonna get into that, guys. We just want to keep finishing up with this.
Your phone rang same time mine did.
Yeah, I do want to ask. What do you let us know what you got coming up? What's the plans for you right now? Also, you know, as far as the career going, next fight, who?
I mean, I'd like to fight personally probably at the end of February. That's what I would like to fight. But I mean, this last fight didn't happen until October, and I was wanting to fight in June. Like I fought in March.
Yeah.
I actually wanted to fight in May. I asked for May, then I asked for June. That didn't happen. So then it was supposed to happen in August, but then they weren't able to get me an opponent in August, so then it didn't happen until October.
Well, unfortunately, you look so good in your fights. It's going to be harder and harder for you to find opponents.
Yeah, especially.
And that's always the case.
With what the commission will approve, at least. They can't give me
What,
somebody.
what Bernie's going to prove?
Well, Bernie has no. You haven't.
Yeah, you still had to go to the same
He
commission.
hasn't fought in Ohio.
Oh, you haven't fought Ohio yet?
No, I fought in Ohio.
Yeah.
A lot of my amateur MMA
Yeah.
fights
No,
are-
oh yeah, I know. I'm
Bernie
talking about
Fafaro.
your two with Bellator though.
Yeah,
They weren't.
No, they weren't Ohio.
Yeah, those weren't.
But the unfortunately is when these guys in MMA,
He's
when they see how good you are, nobody wants to fight all of a sudden. They get
Bernie's
sick or have an
impossible
injury.
with boxing and MMA.
I threw my mouthpiece out after one of my fights, like
Yeah,
excited,
man.
like took my mouthpiece out, excited because I won. I threw it against the cage, like celebrating.
Yeah.
He suspended me for 60 days.
Wow. That's crazy.
60 days for that.
Hey, listen, I'm not saying anything bad about Bernie, but he is almost.
You might as well just give yourself a cut at that point. You're going to get 60 days off.
He's almost impossible to.
He's supposed to be retired.
I know.
He ain't retiring. He's going to ride that gravy train till those biscuit wheels falls off.
They're looking for the new.
Hey, Jack was up, I guess, up for that. A couple other people.
Who, Jack Lowe?
Yeah.
Okay.
Commissioner.
Yeah, that's what I heard. You guys, would you want me to? Nah, I go end up going to jail.
Yeah.
I'll let any fight happen. Nah, I'm joking. Nah, that's cool. So yeah, so you got a lot coming up, man. That's
You're going to have a lot
That
of
is
questions
neat.
for you on here still. Dan says, random note for others watching Bellator. Dalton's full fights are online on their site to watch for watching.
how much would you charge? Oh, we'll get to the next. That's the point. I want to answer some of
That
these
was Dan.
questions. What was it?
Dan Rosano.
Oh, okay. I may have to get you when I get my boxing gym going. That's coming up hopefully by the end of summer. I'm thinking about doing like half cage in there too. I'm doing some of that. I give him a couple bucks on the side. I know he's busy. Train him, get my son in that wrestling.
You don't need that money. He's fighting that big Bellator money
I
now.
know,
What?
but still, but you know what? Listen, that's actually, it's not the fact that you need the money. When you get to that
Yeah,
level,
yeah,
you
I
are
know.
making the money,
Yeah.
and your time's busy like that,
Oh,
you're
no,
going
you
to
get
charge
paid.
for those little fucking.
Oh, yeah, those shirts
things.
mean everything. Those shirts.
Fuck yeah, that's money that you can make without getting punched in the head.
Hey, I see guys in the UFC
Kick.
still making money on the side.
I did. I used to go, like, I did a lot of charity things, but if there was a gig with me with my time after I won a title and it was smaller, you better believe I didn't ask nothing crazy. I wasn't asking for like 50 grand, but if it was a couple thousand here and there, you take it. And remember that, man. What you put your body through and the danger and everything else you do, you got to know your worth. I mean, if there's any chance to make any fucking dime without getting hit or having to jog 4 miles, fucking take it. Take
How
it,
many
take
new
it.
family members do you have, Dalton, and best friends do you have now?
Oh, so many. Everybody's related.
Everybody related to you?
Yeah.
All these new friends that you have hitting you up?
Yeah, listen, I told my girlfriend, a couple of my friends that like people do that to me, And then like ever since all this started, it's been happening more often. I don't want to say they didn't believe me, but they probably didn't realize like how serious I was about it.
Yeah.
And then they're around me whenever it's happening, and people are coming up to me, or somebody's telling me, somebody just told me they were related to you, that you're their cousin. It happens all the time.
Does it?
Yeah.
What do you do? Just say, well, I don't know. But hey, how many people fit in Atlantic City when you fought Taylor, Kelly?
From Youngstown?
No, how many people fit in the
total,
arena?
there was 12,500.
12,000 were there, but 3 million people claim to be there. Everywhere I go, somebody was at that fight.
Oh, that's another big one. That's another big one. A lot of people claim, and not even for these fights, like as an amateur, like everybody claims that they were at my fights. Whenever I got my pro contract, everybody's like, oh, I went to all his fights. And I'm like, no, you didn't. Or they tell somebody they're at the fights. I'm like, I sold all my tickets by hand. I know everybody I gave a ticket to, and that show was sold out. Yeah. Like, I know.
Yeah, you know, because you're getting 10% back on those ticket sales.
Yeah.
The best one, though, is going to be like in 1 or 2 more fights. Yeah, Dalton, I used to babysit him. And,
everybody babysits Kelly.
Yeah, or Mancini. I mean, Mancini was fucking punchy before he even had a fight. You know how many fight people told me they beat Ray up, and how many people said they beat me up. But yeah, it's going to be. Yeah, I fought Dalton when I was in 9th grade. I beat him up.
Dalton out in the
or
gym.
I seen him at a bar and beat him up, or I seen him here and.
Stole his milk at lunch.
Yeah, I used to slap him up the head and take his lunch. You'll get a couple of those too.
Oh yeah, do you know how many people knocked out Mikey Garcia in high school?
Yeah,
right.
They knocked
him out. De La Hoya, they knocked him out. And...
Yeah, so those days are coming too.
Oh yeah,
and you know
how
what?
about all the stuff that's going on with him and all the pictures that's coming up online?
Oscar?
Yeah, those been out.
Those been out for a long time.
Hey, like we say on here, when you have your own private jet, you've got $300 million. You're banging any girl that you want to bang.
When that Russian whore tells you to put on G-string, you put on a G-string.
But you know what? And he ain't gonna care either, because you know what? Everybody else is making jokes about him. Guess what? He's gonna take 3 chicks with him, get in his private plane, and go fly to an island and vacate for 3 days.
Going to fuck island.
You think he gives a fuck who's talking about him being a fishness?
Bro, and I say the same thing. Look, you give me 7 Russian whores at $10,000 each, and they load you up with a mountain of coke. That's what you're gonna do. You're gonna do those kind of things.
He just blows that JP jet fuel in people's faces as he takes off to the next Caribbean island.
Esteban says he tells everybody he's Kelly's Afghan cousin. Esteban.
Well, all right. Well, we're going to tap into boxing. We're going to bounce back and forth and still ask questions.
Dalton knows boxing. He can talk boxing.
That's what I'm saying. He said he actually, I know his trainer. I've seen him at the boxing gym. We've seen him.
Yeah, we've seen him. Yeah,
Technique Tuesday.
Yeah,
that'd have been great. Maybe
it was with Darnell.
Yeah, with Darnell.
I was there a couple other times too.
Yeah,
I do a technique with Dalton. He's fucking young and strong, man. I ain't getting hurt. I'm washed up.
I won't have to charge you for that if I get in the fucking ring and you hit me.
We'll get Justin to play technique.
Either that or
with
I take it out with Sammy.
Justin's younger than us. He can do Technique Tuesday with Dalton.
No, he's older than me.
Are you?
Yeah, I am.
No, you just age better.
Motherfucker.
It's the hair, Kelly.
Yeah. All right, DeQuag says, I heard Haney might be fighting Fortuna.
Javier Fortuna.
Yeah.
Well, what's Fortuna gonna do? Fall the ring on his neck again like he did against Granados?
Oh, he's not gonna fight through that fight.
Remember that? That dude just took he took a header out of the ring so he'd have to fight him another round.
So did you catch any fights, boxing matches recently?
Not the past couple weekends.
Anybody tell you look like Lomachenko?
No, nobody.
You legitimately look like Lomachenko, except a big version of him.
Nobody ever told me that.
Yeah.
But I am a Lomachenko fan.
Oh, you look like him.
I don't care what form of combat, fighting sport you're in, or what sport you're in general. It's almost impossible not to like Lomachenko with his style and how he fights.
Not just that, he's a fucking nice guy.
He is.
He's so good, though.
Oh God.
So good.
But that's what I was going to go to with athleticism. I was even talking to the kid over here the other day that comes in and works a little bit, and he's big in jiu-jitsu, and we were talking about it. He was talking about a guy with athleticism who just really started jiu-jitsu, I guess, and is like jumping. There were only very few people that jumped that high in belts because of his athleticism, or something about this certain move. You might know what I'm talking about, where
if he's jumping too fast, it's not legit.
Like even he's fighting guys and he's winning all these tournaments. He'll do something like one move that he did like 6 people in a row, like where he like hops over them. They said it's weird, and he gets him right in a choke out move. They say he's like real fast, like a fucking spider monkey.
Yeah.
and his athleticism is crazy.
The quickest I ever heard was Nick Diaz getting his black belt in 4 years.
he like
that was the quickest I've ever heard.
4 years.
4 years, Nick Diaz. That was the quickest. Most people's a 15-year,
Yeah, but this guy
20-year project.
Well, what I'm saying, but these guys know too though these tournaments. Maybe I exaggerated a little bit, but they're saying that he's just like with his natural ability and athleticism, like it's hard. He's so fast and he does these moves that people can't do, and they have no way of countering it. And he's getting them like choke outs, tap outs, and
My question is this, Kelly: what level of guys is he working with? Because some guys that shit don't work. Like
no, but I could imagine just like in boxing, if you get somebody fast enough that can do shit like that, it's kind of hard. No matter how technical you are, it's kind of hard. If he's able to get to you before you could do a certain move, he's going to get you because we all know in that sport, on any one slip up of any move, and you leave yourself open by accident or whatnot. But be done.
Let's say this: you have guys like Anthony Santiago, who's one of the best in the country, right? He's won the Pan Ams many times.
Yeah, Pan Ams.
A guy like that against those guys like you in boxing, there's not much you haven't seen. So I don't care how fast he is or how technical he is. They've all seen that. There's only so much they have not seen, and
well, that's the question I'm going, but I'm sure the athleticism has to help.
But these guys at these higher levels, they see everything.
Yeah.
They've seen it, and they like you have guys like Vitor Oliveira and guys like Kron Gracie, they fucking see everything.
Yeah, but and I understand experience, but you could also have a guy that's been fighting for 20 years in boxing and fought everybody and has maybe lost 10 fights, and you could get a kid that's only been pro for 2 years and was an Olympian though with just natural God-given ability and speed. At some point, that speed and natural God-given abilities, for the most part, are going to beat you.
Yeah, for me, I'm a little more skeptical on it. I want to know who gave him his belt, and I want to know his lineage.
I don't know how high up his belt is, but there's videos all on YouTube. I'll get his name and send it to you.
What I'm saying is like in
MMA,
and Dalton will tell you, it's all about the lineage, where who taught him and who taught your instructor, and it all goes back to that. Because there's some people out there that are fucking shiesty. Like for me, if it doesn't come from one of the Gracies or it doesn't come from Magno or one of these guys, then I'm like, I mean, originally, because it's like a family tree. You have you, then you have your instructor, and they have their instructor, and then pretty soon it goes to who started it. It's a big tree.
It is. I know that community, jiu-jitsu community is real tight. Everybody knows. The Quags, who do you want me to ask him? Which fighter, boxing or just in mixed martial arts alone? Do you think Haney's overrated?
No.
No, but the last fight, I see the talks of Garcia and Haney right now, and I think from the way Garcia looked, I know it wasn't much to watch, but he came out, he fought fast, he fought a guy who was supposed to give him rounds, and he did more than what he was supposed to. And Haney in his last fight, awkward guy, so I'm not going to take too much away from Haney, but it wasn't the best performance that he had. So now it does leave you to think, like, let me see one more fight from each before I can really make and choose that. Right now, if I still had to make a decision right now, I'm going to go with Haney.
I am too.
Against Garcia.
I am too. I just think Haney's a better fighter. I still see a lot of technical flaws in Garcia. The pause between, kind of like the stutter and the pauses between shots, that gives your guy a lot of time to counter. Yeah. And a guy like Haney will counter between those shots.
I agree.
And the chin up, they've never fixed that chin up in the air. That's a huge thing. Even MMA and boxing, leaving your chin just standing straight up in the air like a wedding dick.
That's why a lot of them guys in MMA get dropped, is because of the chin, or the chin location. The Quags wants to know who your favorite boxer right now is.
My favorite boxer right now?
Yeah.
It's either Lomachenko or Canelo.
Oh, hell yeah.
Well, there you go. And then Yoda says, question for Dalton, does he think McGregor can come back?
That's a tough question to answer too, because I mean, he does have a lot of money. If he doesn't want, I mean, why hasn't he come back yet? But I mean, if he does come back and he's actually dedicated, he's actually motivated to win, then I think he'd be doing the same thing he was doing in MMA before, like the whole Floyd Mayweather thing. Because after he got like sidetracked with the boxing and everything, he got the money. Nothing was ever the same.
Yeah. I think with Khabib, the writing was on the wall though. Khabib's just another animal altogether. I was like, Jesus.
See, I thought the same thing, but like whenever I was watching the fight, I was like, wow, he's getting dominated. Yeah. But I went back and watched the fight whenever UFC released it on Instagram. Okay. I watched the whole entire fight twice over again. Yeah. And it was a lot closer fight than what I previously thought. Conor was actually giving him problems like with the takedown defense. Yeah. And there was only
I watched it too.
Yeah, there was only news of that fight. Like they that was on like 10 week notice. That fight.
True.
Yeah, so I mean, I think they could have given more time to promote that too. But I mean, on the like preparation end, I mean, he didn't have that much time to prepare for that wrestling, and he doesn't have somebody that caliber wrestling in his camp.
Well, see, the thing with you being a high level MMA guy, you see things that I don't see, or Kelly don't see, because you see that. You see the little details that we would miss being just fans of the sport.
I think, like, especially in that very first scramble with Khabib, like, Conor almost ended up on top. He backstepped over and ended up on top of Khabib, and Khabib was just hanging onto a leg. Yeah. But then Conor didn't like advance off that. He didn't take advantage of that position.
I think when he took the double leg at the cage, I think that kind of made the difference. And he pulled Conor out from under the cage. It's like, I take that double leg.
In a rematch, I mean, I still see Khabib winning if it goes the same way. But I think if anybody has a chance of beating Khabib right now in the division, I think it's Conor, because Tony Ferguson, he's gonna Tony Ferguson's a good wrestler, but he doesn't have he doesn't have the striking to put Khabib away. No. Khabib's going to get him on the ground. And same thing with anybody else. I think if anybody's going to beat...
Is there anybody physically stronger than Khabib?
Probably not. He just mauls you.
You see those videos. I mean, he's been wrestling since he could walk.
Yeah.
But that's, like, I go on that Facebook, and sometimes on there they show, you get like the YouTube clips of it, and I watched like 3 times now that fight with Khabib. And there was a lot of times that it was like that close where Khabib got clipped, and if he would have landed, you're talking about a whole different fight. You're talking about Khabib probably being knocked out.
Yeah.
So
Chewy says Oscar said we'll see Canelo Triple G in September. I hope not.
I don't know. I think that fight's over. I mean, first of all, it's going to take a lot out of both of them, and I don't even know if now with Canelo, if it would, even though Triple G still got the power. But I don't want to. That fight's over. I mean, it's ran its course, and there's other fights out there for Canelo.
Well, right now they're saying Canelo versus Billy Joe Saunders, but they want to make that fight now. So.
And Canelo will take more shit for that than he did against.
He already is.
Yeah.
No matter what Canelo does, nothing's good enough.
Yeah, especially after that performance. What's his name?
Billy Joe looked like shit.
Yeah, Saunders. After that performance that he had, Canelo will not get the credit, and they will find every way. They're going to beat up on Canelo no matter what.
I've already heard that he's ducking. He's ducking people now. Yeah. You're fighting this world champion. Everybody wants you to fight.
He's ducking Andrade. Come on, man. Like
or the Charlos?
Or the Charlos. The Charlos fucking barely got by their last fight. This guy jumped up 2 weight classes to light heavyweight, still fight one of the most dangerous guys. And he's fucking overrated and cherry picking. He jumped up 2 weight classes.
It doesn't.
I watched that fight.
Yeah. That was a perfect right hand. Right down. And I had that fight really close. How did you have the fight up to that knockout?
I'm bad at scoring boxing. I'm not a boxing.
Yeah, like us with the MMA.
Yeah, I don't want to comment on that. But I had Canelo in my own eyes winning the fight.
I did too.
We'll get you there. We'll get you learning how to score that.
I had 1 or 2 rounds for Canelo at the time, but it could have went either way. But I knew when he landed that kind of that short hook to the head, it was over.
I had a really close fight. I had a jaw going in. But the thing about that fight was Canelo, to me, never looked worried or threatened. And it looked like he was kind of just fucking with Kovalev, though. Yeah. And Kovalev fought a very dumb fight.
And he wasn't throwing anything other than a 1-2 either.
Yeah.
So,
I think a lot of that falls on Buddy McGirt.
It does.
But a lot of people, they love Buddy McGirt, but I'm one of the first to say Buddy McGirt is an overrated trainer. He wants everybody to fight like him. You can't do that. When you get a guy so far in his career, you're not going to change who he is. Mm-hmm. You can only fix things and improve what he can do already. You're not going to change it.
It'd be like you right now, you would say your strongest game obviously is the ground, is the wrestling part of it, right? So that'd be like somebody coming in and try to tell you into the MMA to teach you the kicks and like boxing and say stay away from the ground and try to turn you into this kickboxing guy out of nowhere this far into your career, into your MMA career. And it's almost impossible because the first thing, no matter how much you do it in training and sparring, as soon as you get out in that cage and somebody hits you with a good shot, up here you're going to say, fuck, I need to get to the ground and beat the shit out of this guy. And that's
the first time you get hit, you're going to go to the ground.
Same in boxing. You can't take a guy who's a brawler and try to turn him into a boxer. He may come out for a round or 2 dancing around. As soon as you hit him and that fucking brain rattles and he gets that feeling through his body, now you got to fight.
You mean like they did with Arturo Gatti?
Gatti, yep.
They made him a boxer. He got hit, and then he became brawler.
He threw all the boxing out the window and became that brawler.
Yeah, they want to make Dalton turn into Dorian Price, be a Muay Thai fighter.
Unfortunately, I was a lot like that early on in my, well, not early in my career, early in my career, like from the amateurs,
You're a boxer.
to I was a beautiful boxer and I had the power. Then I started walking guys down, and then after that, I would work on like trying to box a little bit more again on my own.
Yeah.
I had to teach myself, and I would go in there and I would go into a fight and start off the round boxing. As soon as I get hit and I feel that fucking vibration through my body, it was like, fuck this, wartime. And then I was right in there, you know, getting cut, headbutts, elbows, and just trying to knock the guy out.
Yeah. I don't know. I personally feel though that right now Canelo's in a lose-lose situation. Anything he does is not going to be good enough because they treated Floyd Mayweather the same way. Everything Floyd did was bad. No matter who Floyd fought, he was picking or Doug.
Yeah, but towards the end, and you know where I'm going with this. Everybody, Floyd Mayweather is God, and for boxing he is, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But these guys like Canelo, man, they can't win. Guys like Lomachenko can't win. They're not going to get the
Hey,
credit.
God help if you defend Canelo because they'll call you a Canelo dick rider like they have on social media the past few days. We dick ride. No, I don't even like fucking Canelo. I'm not a Canelo fan, but I recognize talent when I see it. I recognize greatness. I mean, he's a good fighter.
He is. You can't argue that. The Quags, do you guys think Canelo will go back to 160?
He's going to 68.
Yeah, and then Jesus Casas says, can you ask him, Dalton, what does he think what Cyborg said about her fighting Nunes in a Bellator versus UFC event?
I would personally like to see that. I mean, I would like some cross promotion fighting. I mean, you got 4 big organizations right now. You got the UFC, you got Bellator, you got ONE FC and PFL. Those are the 4 biggest ones, and they all stay within their promotion. I mean, why not cross over, see who got the best fighters, see who's got the best champions?
Right. Do you think that's more a Dana issue? And
I think the reason it's not. I mean, Bellator's done it with Ryzen, which is like a Japanese-based promotion.
Yeah, Mr. Honda.
But yeah, so I think the reason it hasn't happened over here is because of Dana White. Like, so he doesn't want to. The UFC is the biggest promotion out of all of them. So I don't think Dana White wants to like interact with other promotions and kind of like build their fan base and everything even more.
Well, that's how you keep fighters broke is when there's no competition.
Yeah.
And that's, I think, and I've said that before. The one thing with MMA, the reason that the MMA fighters are not making the same money as boxers are is because there's only 1 or 2 or 3 major promoters out there. When boxing, you have dozens of major promoters, so you can up the market and have competition with each other.
Yeah.
And you guys don't get that.
Yeah, and I feel like another reason why is I mean, that being one of them, the money issue. He controls all the fighters' pay in the UFC. Another being is like the best fighters in the world aren't in the UFC.
That's true.
Not all. Some of them are. John Jones, one of them.
Of course.
Another one's probably Khabib.
Yeah.
Khabib Nurmagomedov. He's another one. I mean, for
Cody.
the weight classes.
What do you think about Cody? Cody Garbrandt.
Cody Garbrandt. He's very good.
He's an Ohio guy too, right?
Huh?
Cody's an Ohio guy.
Yeah,
right?
I know. Yeah. I know his uncle, Rob Meese. But Cody's great too, but I don't think he's the best in the world. No. I mean, see, those 2 are the 2 that stick out right now.
Yeah.
Khabib and John Jones. Besides that, anywhere could be up for the grabs. I mean, like the 170-pound division in Bellator stacked.
Yeah.
155-pound division in Bellator stacked. Although I still give Khabib as being the best in the world, they're stacked. I mean, Ryan Bader, the heavyweight and light heavyweight champ in Bellator, I think he could beat Stipe. Yeah. I mean, he was in the UFC before he switched over to Bellator.
I remember Bader.
Yeah. But, I mean, I feel like he's progressed and he's grown a lot in his career. So I feel like he could beat Stipe. Yeah. So, I mean, and this isn't even bringing ONE FC into it, or PFL. I mean, I just feel like UFC doesn't have all the best fighters in the world, but they want to portray it that way, and they don't want to risk their image by cross-promoting with somebody else.
Yeah, my thing with that is, though, I think there's a way that where you could beat around that. Like, Dana White, he controls UFC, and I guess in a way, from what I look at it, almost like all of mixed martial arts, because UFC is just the biggest marketing one out there.
They're great.
You're right, and Bellator is big. Don't get me wrong, and especially with the zone and everything else now, they're deal. But why don't the other ones go out there though and market at that point, or maybe do like what the promoters in boxing do? Think about it. I understand unless that contract's almost up with Dana White, or even have a buyout.
They have a good plan going now. Because what they're going to do, Dana White and UFC, they're losing traction because they're bumping up their pay-per-view prices. They don't have the quality. Like Dalton said, Bellator's got great fighters. Bellator's offering stuff that you can watch and not have to
Yeah.
pay
Hey.
$90
And secondly, but to get the fighters to drag them away from UFC.
it's gonna force it. It's gonna force it to be.
If I get a guy like Dalton right now and I go like this, hey, listen, who was the last guy that made $300,000 that fought Diaz? What's his name?
The kid that just fought Diaz.
Yeah, the kid.
fought Nate.
Masvidal?
Yeah,
Masvidal.
yeah.
He made $300,000.
He made
Remember?
$500,000.
Yeah.
Okay, so even 500.
And he made a win bonus,
For-
right? The win bonus too, which was like 100,000, right?
I think it's another
So just
500.
Was it?
just say he
Okay.
made $1 million overall, and like they showed a comparison on $30 million or $32 million for Canelo and $1 million or $800,000 for Masterov or whatever. But you get a guy like Dalton here, just say he's a hot prospect, which he is right now, and say if I'm Bellator or one of the other companies, and I say, you know what, I'm going to give him $1 million sponsor or a signing bonus, and I'm going to pay his next fight $2 million at 4 fights. The other guys from UFC will start going, fuck.
You see that
You
a
know
lot
what?
now.
Yeah.
Roy McDonald.
Yep.
He was winning in the UFC. He had no reason to leave the UFC, but he switched over to Bellator. He beat Tyron Woodley, who was the champ.
Tyron was good, too.
And there's another prime example. Like Douglas Lima just beat Roy. Rory beat Tyron.
Yep.
The only person to beat Tyron is Kamaru Usman.
Yep.
Just put the numbers together there. I mean, UFC, it's up in there. Nobody knows who has a better 170-pound division.
Well, I think a major problem with the UFC is at one time they oversaturated the market. You had too many UFC fights going on during the week. You had 3 or 4 of them a week, and then you had one major one every month. Yeah. And I think fans in general are fickle. Boxing fans and MMA fans, you can only do so much. You can only take so much, and people aren't going to pay for 2 or 3 pay-per-views a month.
Yeah. But I mean, to get back to what I was saying, I mean, there's guys leaving the UFC. Lyoto Machida, he finished up his contract with the UFC, decided to leave Bellator. There's the whole article on it. Dana White called him up, say, "Hey, I'll match the offer. I'll actually beat the offer." He's like, "No, I want to go over to Bellator." He left the UFC to go to Bellator. The money was there. It made Dana White want to offer Lyoto Machida more
they're treating
money.
better in Bellator.
Yeah, and it made Dana White want to offer more money, but he already gave Bellator's word, so he stayed with Bellator. Rory McDonald left winning. Sergio Pettis, Anthony Pettis' younger brother, just signed with Bellator. Chris Cyborg. Granted, I mean, she only
got
has
pushed
one
out.
loss. She got one loss, Amanda Nunes.
Yeah.
And granted, she did get pushed out. She was like back and forth at it with Dana White, but she could have stayed with the UFC. But she didn't. She chose to leave to go to Bellator. She felt like she wasn't being treated correctly. She felt like there was more opportunity there at Bellator, and then guess what? She went to Bellator, and it's the most lucrative female contract in MMA history. Meaning
Also,
bigger than Ronda Rousey, bigger than Amanda Nunes, bigger than Shevchenko, bigger than any female MMA fighter ever.
It's true. I 100%.
And the zone picking it up too. The Bellator is big. I mean, you constantly see it out there, and that's awesome.
Well, nobody wants to work for an organization where Dana White runs his own fighters down, which he does. He runs his fighters down. He just ran Nate Diaz down right after the fight. Oh, that cut wasn't bad.
Nate Diaz sucks.
Even though his cut, I mean, still.
But
you don't run your fight. You can't run your fighters down, expect them to give 100% for you if you're treating them like shit.
Yeah, but I mean, Nate Diaz, he's another one that he walks around with a chip on his
Of course.
I feel like he's getting mistreated.
That's
no matter
Stockton.
what happens.
That's Stockton.
Yeah, no matter what happens, he feels like he's being mistreated. And then that fight got stopped, and I would have loved to watch it more, but he was
that cut was bad.
He was cut, and he was getting the crap beat out of him. He wasn't showing anybody that he was defending himself.
Exactly.
So if you're the doctor, even if you're like, all right, I could probably let this cat go another round.
There was no reason
to. Yeah, you're thinking like, what have you shown us to show us that this cut isn't going to get worse?
But and I agree with that. At the same, my only thing too though is you let the fight go the round before for 5 minutes. You know what I mean? And he was bleeding like that. You got one of the best cut men in the game working on it.
Rudy.
Rudy. The cut stopped, and then you stop. At least give him another minute of that next round to see if anything can happen.
But he was spurting. It wasn't just running. It was
And
spurting.
if it goes back, but you let him go all that time before, and now the cut is stopped. It's not bleeding no more. Give him a minute, and then stop the fight. If you don't do anything in that minute, no matter if he looks like he's going to do something or not, give it a minute and then stop the fight. You stopped it right at the beginning of the new round when it wasn't bleeding is the only question on that. Usually you stop that fight in the middle of the round or towards the end of the round. But
Darren has a boxing question, Kelly. He said it seemed like it was poor matchmaking with Haney and Billy Joe Saunders fights on Saturday, putting them with tricky opponents instead of showcase fights with so many new and casual box fans. You know, the thing I think about this is they should not have to make concessions for Billy Joe Saunders. He's a world champion. They shouldn't have to give him a guy he can beat or make concessions to him. He needs to fight these big fights to prove that he can fight Canelo Alvarez or Benavidez or Plant or one of these guys out there. Darren wants him to make concessions for Billy Joe Saunders and give him an easy opponent.
Yeah, I don't know. Jose Alessandro says, you guys think Canelo could beat Billy Joe or get Billy Joe's belt easy?
I think
so.
I don't think easy. But
I think it'll be a boring fight because of styles.
Yeah, but I think Canelo beats him. I don't think Billy Joe Saunders has anything to even hurt Canelo with.
No, I don't either. And then Quag says Saunders will run around, might be a stinker. I don't know if Billy Joe's going to run around anymore, though. It looks like, I don't know if it's, and I hate doing this, but if it's the outside training or what's going on with him, but he wasn't moving in that fight. He stayed stationary right in front of the guy, got hit with some shots in that fight. And that knockout may get him to start slugging.
I agree.
Young Yoda goes, question for everybody. I see a lot of MMA fighters smoking weed. Is there a reason for it? And is it the same in boxing? I don't know on that. I mean,
I just feel like they're smoking weed because they want to get high.
Yeah.
There's no
pain management.
Obviously.
Yeah, right?
You know, as long as it doesn't affect their training, I don't give a shit.
The smoking
It doesn't affect their fights. It doesn't affect their
It
training.
affects your training.
I know,
It
but
does.
if they say it don't affect their training, we know it does.
Yeah,
But
Now, I'm going to go on this because people know I drank, you know what I mean? So I don't give a fuck. But drinking to me, I think, is better than smoking weed.
do you really?
Yeah, 'cause smoking weed, no matter which way. Alcohol, does it deteriorate muscle? Does it bring you down, especially depending on how much you drink?
Justin,
yeah, it does.
what do you think?
Hold on, no, I'm being serious on it. Fuck, I'm going to answer this. Because it's true.
I'll take the weed,
But
man.
but
over alcohol.
also you got 2 months of training where you're not drinking, you're eating, you're doing the right stuff. Smoking weed is worse than cigarettes as far as for the lungs.
Oh,
and there
I
has been
agree,
studies
yeah.
done on
I don't know.
that.
They're
We're talking
both pretty
about
fucking
filling,
gross.
but you're not putting smoke into your lungs when you're drinking. When you're smoking weed, you're putting a thick
You're
fucking cloud
destroying
of
your fucking liver.
Absolutely, but that's if you're pounding a fucking fifth of Jack Daniels a night. Not every fighter is going out
But
drinking
not every
50
human
fucking.
body's the same either. Some people.
Yeah,
don't
but you gotta
handle it
really
the same.
damage the liver. You really gotta be drinking some serious shit in a lot of it.
I don't know, man. I
It's,
think
no,
it's
it is true. But if you're going out and smoking a cloud and putting a cloud of fucking thick smoke into the walls of your lungs, you're going to be tired as
What
shit.
about edibles?
Like, look at me, dude. I go, well, yeah, edibles. No, I don't see a problem with that. I really
It's
don't.
weed.
Yeah, but you're not putting smoke into your
No,
lungs.
exactly. But edibles.
Yeah, but you're not putting that residue and all that shit.
Give
in
me
your
the
lungs.
damn gummy bears.
Dude, I smoked after I retired. I went over and did I smoked for like a year. And I went over and did 7 reps on squats, and I felt like the devil was fucking pulling the air out of me.
I tried to tell you that.
And I quit. So I think smoking weed is worse for you. I think it makes you tired quicker, and when we know in boxing, when you're tired, you're fucked.
Yes.
I can't speak from experience. I've never smoked weed.
I haven't either.
Before,
But I did try some edibles
I
recently.
don't,
Jeez,
I don't plan on it, but I've done a lot of research on it.
Yeah.
I mean, drinking and smoking, just because like I've always been the kid even in high school.
Yeah.
I didn't win a state championship wrestling, but mainly because of injury.
Yeah.
But I was always trying to find ways to get edges. So
Yeah.
I was doing a lot of research on weed, alcohol, stuff like that. I actually did research papers on them in college. So I figured I'm gonna write a paper. Might as well write a paper on something I want to learn about.
Right.
Mhm.
So I learned about it, and there's a lot of side effects to both.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of stuff. There's a lot of side effects, negative side effects to weed that people don't understand. And if you start telling them,
Restricting the blood vessels.
you start telling them the side effects, then they won't listen. They'll be like, oh, that's bullshit.
They're
Then you
legalizing it because it's
so
healthy.
then you'll start citing sources, and then they'll be like, no, it's good for you. It has so many medical benefits, but you're not using it for the medical benefits.
No, you're
for one.
You're doing it
And
to get
two,
fucked up.
Yeah, and two, please tell me where's your sources? Where are you getting your information from? Because you heard that from your best friend. Your best friend told you it's good for you.
It's true. Let me ask you this: what's your stance on PEDs in MMA and boxing?
On MMA and boxing, you asking me if I'm
No, what's your stance on what
No,
should
what do you
what
think,
should
like-
no not you. I'm asking what you think should happen to a fighter that tests positive for steroids or some kind of performance enhancing drug.
I think they should be suspended because it's going to be in your system for
I mean,
up to a
we've-
year. Like
we've-
with John Jones,
we've
it
seen
was-
that.
How long was it in his system for?
But he's been
18
caught
months?
4 times.
Yeah.
But that's always going to be the thing on John Jones. He'll never be known as this great fighter because that's always going to stick out. And he's great regardless.
Right, but it hits Canelo
Steroids
too.
help with your strength. They help with your recovery. They help with stuff like that, but they don't make you a better fighter. They don't make
Absolutely
you more
not.
technical. You still have to put in the work.
But they still make you stronger and better conditioned.
Yeah, but I mean, at the same time, he was coming off them before his fight. So when he was taking them, I'm sure he was taking them for recovery. Yeah. So he can train more often.
Oh yeah.
I mean, Canelo still gets the shit for the
clenbuterol.
And he hasn't tested positive since then. I'm against it big time. I think that it should be like felony. You should be
an assault.
Charged with assault. Especially now with all the deaths that are happening, like in boxing and injuries.
But I see right now with PEDs hitting the sport, the PEDs are becoming more advanced and harder to test for. Some of these things coming out now, like I know personally, some of the Russian fighters, the Ukrainian fighters that are out, I'm not gonna say any names, but they have shit in their system that's leaving, that there's a 6-hour ester on it, that it's leaving their system through condensation of sweat. And it's not like, it's not like Tran or D-ball. It's something different.
That's going back on what we were talking about. Guys are getting faster, stronger. And a lot of that also is because of the technology and sports science, nutrition. And that also goes as far as with the Russians, with the fucking PEDs.
And the auto-injector 2000.
Back in the day was, there was one way to take steroids. And that was it. Then it got to like, well, you can do this, and then you can do this, and you can do that.
Put the shit on your armpits.
Ways of masking it and then making it undetectable. And it's only going to get better and better. And to a point, it's going to be, almost everybody's going to be on it.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate, but that's the way it is.
It is.
And it's, hold on.
Justin, what do you think's worse? Alcohol or weed?
Brother, I'll tell you what.
They're both bad. And I wasn't saying, I'm not suggesting to go do fucking alcohol.
I know. Weed, I love both. I love getting high as fuck. But getting high as fuck when I used to smoke weed is different than getting high as fuck right now. Because you don't even really smoke it. You get these vapes, these fucking e-cigs. And I used to smoke a whole blunt. And I put some fucking cocaine in it. And we call it we give these fucking Asian eyes.
Pablo Escobar over here.
We were just like 3 people, and we'd be high for like 3 hours and loving it. We thought we were king shit. I go to Los Angeles and I buy some weed called Cookie. I smoke it for fucking 3 seconds and I'm high for 5 hours.
Was that when we went?
Yeah, but we're talking. Yeah, but we're not talking
we
about
almost fucking died.
We're not talking about your personal experience with it. We're talking about if you were to go play sports or do it.
I don't understand with the potency of marijuana nowadays. I don't understand how any professional athlete could smoke marijuana and be at their best. I don't understand at all. I mean, you could be hungover.
Dude.
Get hungover 24 hours later. You're fine.
They have brownies with 500 milligrams of THC in it. That's enough to kill somebody.
5 days after I smoked.
Who the fuck needs a brownie with 500 milligrams of THC in it?
Oh, Emilio got one, and this is one for Dalton to answer. I know that's what I'm saying, but yeah, I'm not suggesting drinking either. I'm just going. You're not putting when you take a sip, you're not filling your lungs with smoke. But they're both bad for you.
Dan wants to know what beer alcohol do you endorse, Kelly?
Not now, nothing. I fucking endorse Fiji, but back then it was fucking Bud Light and Crown Apple for show. And now I like some. Once in a while, I like to sip on sake.
Oh yeah.
And what was that shit over at Birdfish?
The
White Claw.
Bitches be tripping.
No, not White Claw.
Bro,
James is Four Locos.
Fucking Four Locos.
Do they still make Four Locos?
Yeah, man, but they took out the good shit, the kind of shit that makes you go to jail.
I see. I think only women drink White Claw, right?
I think women drink White Claw.
I've seen dudes doing it too, but you also see dudes nowadays with the balloons for their birthday.
It's true.
The 2 and the 5.
The fucking Mad Bun, the bitch biscuit.
Yeah. They'll be posing too, standing like girls with the 2 and the 5 balloon.
Emilio X says, "You guys heard Masvidal wants Canelo. Damn, Canelo will sleep him viciously and early. This is good for boxing, MMA. Guys say McGregor did good.
That's just
That's just rumors.
Yeah, and listen, a lot of MMA fans when Conor went to fight Floyd really thought Conor was going to beat Floyd, and we know Floyd fucked around in that fight with him, and Floyd was 2 years out. McGregor's right leg was bigger than both of Mayweather's. It's two different roles. If I took Canelo and threw him into a cage with Conor,
or even Dalton,
or Dalton, exactly, or with Dalton, and to think that for me to even say Canelo when I would have to go get my brain checked, there's no way in hell on God's green earth Canelo's going to go into a cage and win a fight against a good mixed martial artist, and vice versa. There's no way you're going to take a guy like Masterval or
Anyone. Yeah.
Connor and throw him into a boxing ring with a superstar who perfects that trade all day long. There's no way that he's going to win that fight unless Jesus comes down and grabs his arm and throws it at Canelo. He's not knocking him out. You know, he's not going to win that fight. And I think some people got to take that biasness and put it to the side and just say, no, that's stupid. And if he does do it, you know it's for the money because there's a lot more money in boxing for something like that against Canelo. But, you know, and I say the same. There's no boxer right now that I think, even Lomachenko, if he went in there against somebody like Dillashaw, where I could say that Lomachenko is going to win that fight. You know, there's just no way. Mercer did do it, though.
No,
but that was
because he caught Couture with a lucky punch.
That's going to be the next breed of athlete. It's going to be what I would love to see. I wanted to try and do it.
Yeah, it's a good idea. You should try this.
11 years ago. I wanted to, because you're getting the fan. I mean, there's a lot of people that are just boxing fans. There's a lot of people that are just MMA fans and they don't like boxing. But now you're getting the cross fans, and you're going to have the cross athletes. It's going to be the next evolution of things. And what I would love to see is I would love to go to an event where it alternates between events. I would like to see a boxing match followed by an MMA match.
That would be awesome.
Throw a kickboxing match.
Yes.
And have 3 fucking main events: a boxing main event, an MMA.
How would they do it? You have to turn your back for the ring and go back to the cage, like to switch your chairs
You got a
around?
place big enough like Cavelli.
And the ring, Bradley used to do it all the time. I mean,
Yeah.
you could do boxing.
I don't know. I think the
Maybe-
cage
Or the
is
one the
something.
route where you were saying, and it made a good point. Somebody, and I think the closest person is a guy like Lomachenko with the fucking natural ability.
But he is a wrestler.
In the background of wrestling when he was younger,
And
martial arts.
Russian, Sambo? He's like black belt Sambo.
So just say that, okay, and he goes off and he perfects. Obviously, his stand-up in MMA is going to be his big part, but where he learns enough to on the roll or defend the takedown or get up from the takedown, and have that person go and try to win a world boxing title and be a world champion in mixed martial arts. And the same thing as in mixed martial arts. I guess for me, I would say somebody like Connor or a Diaz, a stand-up guy who's pretty good, but also has the techniques and grappling, and take him into a boxing ring and build him up through the boxing ranks to get him a world title. That might be something too one day, to be a champion in both. You know how fucking respected that would be?
It'd be fucking crazy. And then,
Like a pro baseball player, a pro football player.
Then you won't be shit unless you're a boxing champion. I mean, it'll be crazy.
But I think what MMA takes the fun with that because you already have all that in one right now, though. So it does kind of steal the thunder from.
But then you miss. I said some people still like the discipline. Like I said, I love boxing. I love MMA. I love kickboxing. I love the K1 fights. I love the open fight. I mean, it would just be. I love watching Muay Thai fights. It would be. How awesome would it be? Even if you just had a boxing, maybe the main events or whatever. How awesome would it be to go there during the undercards and to watch a couple of Muay Thai fights and then see a boxing match and then.
That would be like a sports, like a combat festival. You know, you could headline it, combat festival. You know, first annual.
You gotta start promoting it yourself.
We do it down at the Cavelli Center. All right.
We got.
How much of a chance do you give Ortiz to beat Wilder?
I give him a
would
good
like
chance.
to see him beat Wilder. I don't like Wilder.
No,
I don't think it's gonna happen, but I would love to see that
I
happen.
think he stands a good chance. It's the heavyweight division.
he's a 51-year-old man.
I know, but he's got that power, and
I
if
know.
he catches Ortiz, and that goes into
Wilder will catch him. That's the thing.
Yeah, that goes into the next one with Emilio. He goes Wilder or Joshua. At heavyweight, maybe can't sleep anybody in UFC, but they need to land that KO punch before the takedown. Very small chance, but look at Ray Mercer. That wasn't no luck. He
Yeah, it
meant to hit
was.
his
'Cause
chin.
It was fucking old, man.
Another difference about it's not just the takedown. Another difference in the cage is the leg kicks.
Yep.
Because
yeah.
before I switched over completely to kickboxing,
Getting
like
kicked
I was
with those thigh
doing
kicks?
just boxing.
Yeah.
And then I was going against I was starting to spar with guys that were in UFC, guys that were in Bellator.
Yeah.
And I was getting my legs kicked out, and I could not land a right hand to save my life. Every time I was coming in on the right hand, jab, right hand. Every time I threw that jab, they would eat the jab, hit me with a leg kick, take all my power away, and I could not. Sooner or later, after 2 rounds, you can't stand on your legs.
No,
at
you
all.
can't. You remember when Forrest Griffin was doing that to what was his name? The guy with the chains. Remember that? He kept kicking him on the leg, spinning him like it was back in the day of about 2008, 9. He had the chain, black guy with the chain.
Rampage.
Rampage when Forrest
he's in
kept kicking him.
Bellator
Do you remember
now.
that?
Yeah. How do you get past that? What's the best thing? Like, obviously you got to learn kickboxing, but you learn now when you go to kickboxing, you got a short period of time, as we were talking about, to really learn it. You have the wrestling background, obviously boxing. But are you going into kickboxing to really learn how to defend the leg kick? Or are you learning?
Honestly,
check a kick?
I was at first, I was just trying to learn it to defend the leg kick, but it didn't work. I'd actually start implementing some of the kickboxing techniques myself and start to become more comfortable with it. And then I started checking kicks. And I started like switch stepping. Like if the kick would come, I would switch stances, and then I would switch back after I threw a punch or two after. But a big thing is like whenever I was boxing, I was bouncing around in my stance a lot. So I was like back and forth, and I would come in with a jab and right hand, and I would just get clean with the leg kick. And it was happening over and over and over again, and it beats up your legs. Like it does, it adds up. But sooner or later, I just got like, you know, a little bit more comfortable on my feet to where I was like able to really shift my weight to my back leg a lot, like right away. Like it was kind of like, it was just like having the reaction. Like,
well, even MMA guys, you guys distribute your hips different when you guys fight, and what you guys generate power different than a boxer does, which is awesome because you generate more of an even scale than from front to back. But I think a lot of fans don't realize that people's never fought. They don't realize how fast MMA fighters close the distance. They say, oh, boxer just has to catch them coming in. It doesn't work like that. These guys close the distance so fucking fast. I've done it before. I was like, I'm gonna wait for him, and I'm gonna throw this overhand right, and by the time I'm already on my back, like on a double leg, they close the distance within a split second.
I mean, if an MMA fighter, even in a cage, tried to sit there and box with a boxer, they're gonna get knocked out. But the leg kicks, like I said, do add up. And the biggest thing for me is whenever I got comfortable kicking, it's a different weight distribution than boxing, because you really have to shift your hips, you have to put your weight, you have to shift your weight back and forth between your legs to throw the kick, to land a kick on the front leg, back leg, the body kick, whatever. So whenever I got comfortable with boxing, it was really shifting my weight back quickly as soon as I was able to react, lifting my leg to check it. So I mean, it took a while to develop, but I mean, it takes time. It took me like a year.
That's like the one kid, the only one that I know boxing that's strictly like boxing. I mean, he knows some ground fighting. He has to. But Scotty Weaver's friend, his black kid, he was like 4-0 in the UFC.
Who's that?
And no, he's legit. He was here with Bone Thugs.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember who it was.
Yeah, he's in the video, that rap video. He's got the.
Yeah, it's
But he's all boxing.
Is it Corey something?
Yeah,
Corey. Yeah,
I think so. Yeah, and he's straight boxing. I mean, I watch his highlights too, and every punch
he was a wrestler.
boxing.
He was an Ohio State wrestler, right? Too. Yeah,
he does all the boxing though. I mean, all of his fights were knockouts. But again, now you get him in there with somebody who's really good at closing that gap, and a wrestler who's going to shoot fast. If you don't know how to really fight good on the ground, he's going to be in trouble.
Another thing is too, like not all MMA fighters are going to be good kickers.
No,
not everybody's good at leg kicks. Like it just happened to like what made me really want to start getting good at kickboxing was the guys I was sparring with, because they were really good at kicking my leg. They were landing.
And it fucking hurts.
So not all guys, like you can throw somebody like Lomachenko in there against like a striker, but like pick and choose which striker. Make sure the striker doesn't have like
a good leg,
really good leg kick, and it changes it a little bit.
People,
I mean, it's still you're in more narrow stance in boxing. You're more like streamlined in boxing than you are in MMA. You're more square in MMA. That's another difference too. But
you, like I said, you generate power off a different part of your hips.
Like we were saying, the stances are wider too when they punch, so it really is harder to generate more power.
But they generate it different. They just adapt. They adapt to the to a different type of power that we don't do. And that's probably another reason why you don't see a lot of huge knockouts like you do in boxing a lot. And when you do, they're over right away. It's because you're standing different. But also too, we got to talk about the Donaire and the Donaire and Inoue fight. That was the big one.
Ooh. I watched that one. I woke up on that fight.
Yeah, I did. I woke you up.
5 in the morning. I really felt like I was like falling asleep behind the wheel. I had the fucking phone, and the alarm went off, and it was actually late. I got up, the alarm was going off, so they were already being announced in the ring. So I'm over there like this.
It looked like the Hunger Games.
Yeah, I'm fucking rubbing my eyes. And I'm trying to be quiet because my wife's sleeping right next to me. And I had to hurry up, turn the volume down. The phone falls out of my fucking hand, misses my nose. That shit would have probably cut me. Falls behind the bed. Boom. She's like, what the fuck? I go, no, go back to sleep, honey. And I pick it back up and I start watching it again. Like, boom, it falls. Finally, after that second time, I guys just sat up in the bed and started watching it. And it was a fucking fight, man.
Great. It was one of the best fights I've seen in a long time.
Yeah, I had a really close fight go up to that.
See,
knockdown.
we agreed on scores are 1 point off, but we were pretty far off on this. I had it 116, 111 for Inoue.
Yeah, and that's not out of the question. I just personally, from my point of view, Donaire in those rounds, there was nothing Inoue was doing to really steal the round, and Donaire was kind of like dictating the pace of the fight. He was the aggressor. He was landing every bit as much, if not more, than Inoue.
How'd you score?
And that's why I think I had a
15-12?
Yeah.
Was it?
That was, yeah.
Yeah.
And I thought Donaire was. I mean, he fought a smart fight. He used his size. He kind of wore down Inoue, and Inoue won enough of them early rounds. And then obviously the knockdown was a big part. And then the 12th round, I gave Inoue, which ended up leading to that score.
But we know Inoue's out for 12 to 15 months now. He has a broken orbital bone in his eye. That's how vicious that fight was. These guys, they both were knocked out in the 11th round. They both knocked each other out. They're standing, and they're just throwing, even knocked out.
Yeah.
Both of them were. It was amazing, and they were like 118 pounds.
So if Inoue could come back from that damage, because we've seen what could happen.
And we've seen with Abdomar, hasn't been back since.
Yeah, with those broken orbital sockets, it's touchy. I think that for Inoue, he don't get hit a lot as it is, and he's in a really small weight class where the guys, on the most part, don't hit that hard. So he might be okay, more so than a Kell Brook fight in that middleweight. But I think right now, anyways,
his age too, that young age might be an advantage.
Yeah,
but how much did it take out of him fighting a guy like Donaire who hits that hard?
In smaller weights, though, not that. And anyway, he's a Japanese guy. Let's face it, the Japanese always keep their bodies phenomenal shape. So he's probably not smoking weed or drinking or eating McDonald's.
But I doubt Donaire is either.
Yeah,
Donaire keeps a pretty clean lifestyle too.
That's why Donaire is way. That's
36.
36. They're almost 37 years old and still fights the way he does.
We were plenty of Japanese people.
Have you?
Yeah.
You smoked pot with Johnny Hopkins? Sloan Kettering?
You didn't know Johnny Hopkins? Yes, I did.
I smoked pot with Johnny Hopkins, Sloan Kettering.
Where do you go to school?
There you go.
John Hopkins. I smoked weed with Johnny Hopkins.
Yeah. You ever see Step Brothers?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was fucking funny.
I don't know. I was impressed. I was happy for Nonito. I wanted Inoue. I thought Inoue would win, but I deep down wanted Nonito because I know Nonito. We know him, and that's the thing. You always root for the guy that you know.
And I wasn't being biased in that fight either. I mean, I'm being serious. I judge all the fights how I see them.
Don't say that because we always get accused of it.
I know, but I
know.
Yeah. And I break down my reasoning, and really, if you go back and watch that fight, I know you only get one time, and the one time is how you actually have to judge the fight.
Yeah.
Because the judges only get one time. But go back and watch and see. If you go back and watch it again, you'll see the rounds where I'm talking about, like how Donaire and Inoue didn't do anything at the end of the round to really steal those rounds that I gave him. Now, on the flip side of that, if you did like what your score, I for 1 second I'm gonna be like, James, you don't know what the fuck you're talking about. Like, no, I could see how them rounds, especially the first time, how you could give those to Inoue because they were that close.
Yeah.
So that's not.
I don't know. I mean, I just saw. I kind of just saw Donaire trying to steal rounds at the end. You know how I am about stealing rounds anyway. So
Yeah.
I don't know. But we really only had. You had it 116, 112. I had
115, 112.
I had 116, 111. So it wasn't like our scores were too far out the same part. One round difference, like always.
Yep. So. But yeah, we're gonna wrap up.
And it's true. Inoue, you got a top rank deal. What do you think about that?
That's sweet.
I think it brings more fans to him getting a bigger promotional company than
It does.
Mr. Honda Promotions in Japan.
Yep, and he should have had that a while ago, I think. But we're gonna wrap up the show, guys. Next week we'll be back on to answer. Dalton, dude, thank you, man.
Thank you so much. Thank you for so
awesome.
much coming on.
Thank you.
Yeah, did you got that out there? I seen you advertise that you're going to be on. We appreciate
Can you
that.
tell them again so they know exactly where they can find you at?
Yes, let them know.
Okay, you can find me on Instagram at Dalton_Rosta, or you can find me on Facebook at Dalton Rosta.
Yep,
Awesome.
and record Bellator 2-0.
2-0 in Bellator.
2 KOs.
Yes.
And early too. Well, you went to the second round, the last one.
Yeah, the last one was second round. The first one was first round, a minute in.
Well, the guy got lucky to get to the second round, so.
Esbon, we just talked about Inoue's orbital bone. You got to pay attention to the show and put your shirt on.
Yeah, right? The selfies in the mirror with no shirt.
Thank you.
Yeah, so, yeah, you got Esteban, you want to take those pictures and think you're macho and everything with no shirt on in your fucking bathroom, and you get a guy over here like Dalton don't have to put a muzzle on him so he don't kiss you while he's fucking you, okay? So the muscles go for naught, okay? Hey, leave it alone.
Forget about it.
Forget about it. No, I'm just fucking with you, Esteban.
No, I love Esteban. He's a good dude, man.
All right, yeah, so that's good, and thanks again. That's awesome. We'll be back on next week. Again, guys, you can come onto the page and follow and chat. We have stuff up that sometimes controversial and sometimes
Get us cussed out for shit we didn't write.
So, but enjoy.
Hey, good show. What an honor having Dalton on. I know he's going to be a champion, and we're going to say we had the champion on one day.
And we're going to keep everything, on the show. We'll update everybody now that he's been on, and that you guys know who he is, and follow him, like he said, and keep an eye out for the fights on.
You can catch his fights on DAZN too.
Yeah, on Bellator, DAZN. And we'll keep the records going, and after his fights, we'll get him back in here. You have no problem coming here, right?
Nope.
Except when he becomes champion, he ain't coming to this low-grade ass studio. He wants something bigger.
I might have to charge you a couple thousand.
See, there you go.
Come on.
It's just play.
Motherfucker, man. I get no fellow combat champion fucking respect.
No.
Oh, man. All right, well,
Your time's up.
We'll pay it. Fuck it. All right. We'll see you guys next week.
Have a great week, guys.